The unbelievable decision. Why did Hitler declare war on the United States? Imagine for a moment a scene on the stage of history on December 11, 1941. The world was ablaze. Germany, already embroiled in a brutal conflict against Britain and the Soviet Union, seemed to be at a crossroads. And then, something almost unbelievable happened. On that day, just 4 days after Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, Adolf Hitler stood before the German parliament and, with a decision that would echo for decades, officially declared war on the United States. Many historians view this moment as one of the greatest strategic blunders in modern history. But what was going through Hitler's mind? What led him to make such a bold, and for many so imprudent a decision? To unravel this mystery, we need to go back a little in time to the situation Germany faced in late 1941. By the summer of that year, Hitler had launched Operation Barbarossa, the massive invasion of the Soviet Union. At first, German forces advanced like lightning, conquering vast territories and taking millions of prisoners. Hitler was convinced that the Soviet Union would collapse within a few months, like a house of cards. But by the time December arrived, the scenario had dramatically changed. German troops were exhausted, stretched to their limits. Supply lines extended over unimaginable distances. The Russian winter, relentless and brutal, arrived with all its fury, and Soviet resistance proved much stronger than expected. Instead of a quick victory, Germany found itself trapped in a long and costly war in the East. At the same time, Britain, despite years of bombing and military pressure, remained steadfast. Germany had failed to force the British into surrender. Hitler was already fighting two major enemies, and another powerful nation was becoming increasingly involved in the conflict. That nation was the United States. Although America was officially neutral before Pearl Harbor, President Franklin D. Roosevelt strongly supported Britain. The United States supplied enormous amounts of weapons, vehicles, fuel, and food through programs such as Lend-Lease. American warships also helped protect convoys crossing the Atlantic Ocean. In Hitler's eyes, the United States was already acting like an enemy. Several incidents had already occurred between German submarines and American naval vessels months before Pearl Harbor. Tensions were rising, and many German leaders believed a direct conflict with America was inevitable. Then came December 7, 1941. Japanese aircraft attacked the American naval base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. The attack shocked the world. The next day, the United States declared war on Japan. However, Germany was not legally required to declare war on America. Many assume that Germany had no choice because of its alliance with Japan, but the reality is more complex. The Tripartite Pact, signed by Germany, Italy, and Japan, primarily required assistance if one of the members was attacked. Since Japan had initiated the attack, Germany was not obligated to enter the war against the United States. Hitler could have stayed out of the conflict. Instead, he chose the opposite path. One reason was his belief that war with America was inevitable. Hitler viewed the United States as an industrial giant that would eventually join the conflict anyway. He believed declaring war first would allow Germany to take the initiative rather than waiting for America to act. Another reason was his confidence in Japan. Hitler expected Japan to achieve rapid victories across the Pacific and possibly threaten American power for years. He hoped that the United States would become distracted by fighting Japan and would have fewer resources available for Europe. This assumption would prove disastrously wrong. There was also an ideological factor. Hitler had long expressed hostility toward the United States. He considered it a nation weakened by democracy, cultural diversity, and what he viewed as political corruption. He underestimated American determination and industrial capacity. Like many dictators throughout history, Hitler often believed his own assumptions more than reality. When he addressed the German parliament on December 11th, he delivered a speech filled with attacks against Roosevelt and the American government. The declaration was greeted with enthusiasm by many Nazi supporters. But behind the scenes, some German military leaders were deeply concerned. Germany was already struggling in Russia. The British remained undefeated. Now the country would also face the full economic and military power of the United States. The consequences soon became clear. American factories began producing staggering numbers of tanks, aircraft, ships, trucks, and weapons. The United States transformed itself into the arsenal of democracy. Its industrial output exceeded anything Germany could match. While German factories struggled with shortages, Allied production continued growing year after year. American troops would eventually fight in North Africa, Italy, Western Europe, and across the Pacific. American bombers participated in massive air campaigns against German cities and industries. American supplies helped keep Britain and the Soviet Union in the fight. By entering the war, the United States dramatically shifted the balance of power against Germany. Historians still debate whether Germany could have avoided defeat without declaring war on America. Some argue that Germany was already heading toward disaster because of the invasion of the Soviet Union. Others believe that keeping the United States out of the European conflict for a longer period might have changed the timeline of the war. What most experts agree on is that Hitler made the decision based on overconfidence and poor strategic judgment. He underestimated America's economic strength. He overestimated Japan's ability to weaken the United States. And he failed to recognize how difficult it would be to fight multiple powerful enemies at the same time. In the end, the declaration of war gave the United States a direct reason to commit its full resources to defeating Nazi Germany. What seemed like a bold move in December 1941 became one of the most costly mistakes of Hitler's career. For years later, Germany lay in ruins, Berlin had fallen, and the Third Reich no longer existed. A decision made in just a few moments helped shape the outcome of the entire war.